Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. This is Kim again for another session of Coffee with Kim. So, tonight we're going to talk about how to make reading fun for your kids. I know a lot of our kids will be distance learning or homeschooling, so it depends on you. So, this school year, and I know that a lot of parents, including myself, are very anxious about that because we didn't plan. We didn't plan to do this. But we can make learning, reading specifically, fun with the right tools. So to talk more about this, let me welcome our guest tonight, Ian Rosario. Let me just show him here. Hi, Ian. Good
Hello.
morning.
Good
But
morning.
I
Good
say good
morning.
morning because Ian is in the US. So I'm
Yes,
bugging him early at 9 in the morning
definitely.
to go live with us. So thank you so much for joining, Ian.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm
Yeah.
actually a student at the University of Maryland, near Washington D.C., and I'm studying architecture and Spanish, and actually real estate development at the University of
Wow,
Maryland.
that's a
Yeah, a
lot.
lot of things. It
So
is super
architecture, Spanish, and
with
what's
a
that?
minor in real estate
Oh,
development.
wow,
Yes,
that's a lot.
it is. And I'm also in the Entrepreneurship Honors College, and studying social entrepreneurship, which is great.
Wow, good
Um,
for you.
Thank you. Thank
I need
you.
to talk to
And
your mom. How do you raise a kid like this?
I'm busy all the time, so I'm perfectly
I
awake
can
right now.
imagine. I can imagine. Have you had your coffee? It's coffee with Kim. I wish I could send you coffee. Yeah, I thought
Yes,
about that, but then yeah, I wasn't able to prepare.
that's
Anyway,
great.
yeah, so thank you for the introduction. So I'm gonna ask you the first question that we have right here. Okay,
Mhm.
so why is reading so important to academic success? Can you share a little more about that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually have done some tutoring with students back in high school. I did tutoring for Spanish, tutoring a little bit in chess actually, and tutoring in
Wow,
math. Um,
busy
and
person.
then busy, yes. And then in college, I started doing tutoring for literacy with a
Okay.
program. And some of the things I noticed while I was tutoring and also during research was that literacy affects so many aspects of a child's
Yeah.
development and so
Yeah.
many aspects of future academic success, not just English in the future or
Mhm.
SAT writing scores, but it affects math skills and science skills, and social studies skills, and how they enjoy school in the future. And I thought that was really interesting to hear.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna agree with that because, like I told you while we were talking before this live, right? It wasn't
Mhm.
in the plan that we're gonna homeschool the kids, but
Right,
I'm glad that they know how to read already because it makes studying much easier if the kids can read, right? So I
right.
can't imagine having preschoolers who you have to teach how to read. So you need all the help you can get to get them
Exactly.
started, right? So yeah, so we have some homeschooling parents, distance learning parents listening to us. So how
Mhm.
exactly can we spark a love for reading with the kids, especially the ones who are just starting out?
Yeah, well, actually, I have like four tips here. So I
Okay.
think one of the ways is that parents can be an example to their kids. If you are excited about reading and you love reading, then they're gonna see that in you
Yeah.
and love that too. And I think you can attest that if your kids see you doing something, that they're probably gonna do it too, or they've done it in the past too. And kind of what they see you doing, if they see you loving, then they're
Mm-hmm.
gonna love it too. And I don't
Yes.
know, I don't know if you have any examples of kids, if you doing something and your kids see you doing it and
Yeah,
copy the same
actually,
exact thing.
yeah, yeah. I noticed that because when my husband and I would read, we would open a
Mhm.
book. The kids would start gathering around us, sitting around us, and they're gonna open their own books as well. And it's
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's amazing because they drop their gadgets and then they read with us. So yeah, that's true that they follow the example of the parents.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of leads into my second point too, which
Mm-hmm.
was that start reading early and spend time reading with your kids. Because if
Yeah.
you can do that and build a habit
Mm-hmm.
of reading and fostering a home where reading is a regular thing, then that helps so much. Because some of the
Mm-hmm.
kids that I was tutoring, reading wasn't a daily thing in their house, and reading was
Oh,
something that they were tired of, and they said they didn't like, but simply because they hadn't read that much at home. So
Okay. So how soon should we start reading to our kids? Because
from my
for me,
research,
I started like
mhm,
when they were toddlers, but I
yeah,
know that some parents would start while the kid is a newborn. So as early
right.
as that. Yeah.
Right. From my research, I've seen that like and read that you can start as early as they're born. I mean, they're not going to understand. Newborns aren't going to understand
Mm-hmm.
um, as early as a few months, 3 to 6 months. But even at then, they can start recognizing sounds, and their brain will start picking up on similar
Right.
sounds and the rhythm and the connection that you build and the bond that you build of just spending time with your kid and reading is really important to their social
Mm-hmm.
development, as well as their academic. So that I think as early as you can as newborns, that's what I would recommend, and then you can build those
Mm.
habits for down the road and
Oh
kind of
yeah, that's
working
true.
on
Oh,
building
that
that.
makes
But
sense. Yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, it's never too early to start. I mean, if your kids are toddlers, if your kids are even older than that, starting to build a habit of reading is one of the most influential things because reading leads to success in the future
Mm-hmm.
and leads to academic growth.
Yeah,
So
and it doesn't have to be like long reads, right? It can be
right.
a chapter a day or like a super short book. When the kids were toddlers, we would read them like super short books, and then
Hmm.
it was in English and Filipino, because of my eldest, we only read English books, and that
Hmm.
became a problem because she couldn't speak Filipino and she's in the Philippines. So we learned with our second and our third, we started reading books in English and Filipino. So it's actually a
That's
good way
great.
to introduce languages, right? It's good,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And that's actually a really good thing to do. And even some newborns and kids who are
Yeah.
between like 6 months to 1 year old, they may just like chew on the books or like rip
Yeah.
apart the books. But the thing is you're even building a love for books and kind of
Yeah.
making books a regular thing in your house by doing that. So that's a great thing to do.
But parents would be happy to know that there are chewable books. Like the
Right.
one made of it's made of felt. I've seen it. I've seen it
Mhm.
online. So it's specifically for those teething babies who chew on their books.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But those are the best books, the ones that you
Yeah.
can feel
The one that has
feel the
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like those actually. They have
yeah.
the sounds if you crush them. Yeah.
Yeah, and going along with that, I think my third point too was integrating reading into your daily lives. I think if you
Okay.
can be an example and start early, then you can start integrating reading into a regular habit. And by reading
Yeah.
regularly, your reading doesn't become a chore anymore. It
Mhm.
becomes more of just something natural and something fun to do. And if you can set like regular time, maybe 15 minutes in the afternoon and maybe
Yeah.
10 minutes before bed, and just a regular thing,
Mm.
then it just becomes when students have to read, it's not like, oh man,
Yes, I
now I have
know.
to read again.
I
Yeah.
know. It was like that at the beginning. So we had to
Right.
build that habit. Yeah.
And
You
that's
have
how I was too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Me too. So I learned what I learned when I was growing up. I didn't like reading at first, but we had
Mhm.
at home, my mom, and at school as well. They had this too. We had this time. It's an hour long thing. It's a schedule every week, every Friday. I remember, and they call it Dear Time. So it's drop everything and read.
That's
So
great.
you don't do anything else but read. And yeah,
Hmm.
it's good. It felt like a chore at first, but then when the habit is was built, so it became fun for me. And then I did it with my kids, and they're enjoying it as well. And then
That's
they
great.
don't complain.
That's
That's the
great
word
because I
when they
was
complain.
because my mom had to make me read as a kid,
Really?
and I did not. I thought I didn't like reading, but actually I kind of found out that I just didn't like reading the books that I was reading. And once I found the books
Right,
that I could like to read,
right,
and I was super into basketball. I was super into army and the military as a kid. I had a ton of little army men, and I read some books on the military too. And I was like, this is so cool, and it made me want to read more.
right.
So
Uh huh.
yeah, that
So
was
that's
that
a
was really
good idea. I
influential.
didn't think about that yet. Thanks to your mom for that
Hmm.
tip. Because
Hmm.
yeah, I just realized that my son he loves sharks. That's why
Hmm.
it's such a chore to have him read the other books we have here. And then I noticed
Hmm.
that when he started buying books about sharks, that's when he started really reading and he couldn't put them down. So yeah,
Right.
that's true. That's true.
And from my volunteer program in DC last year, all these kids who were coming to the literacy improvement camp weren't super
Mhm.
excited about reading, but on the last day we brought them like graphic novels, especially for kids that they're just a bunch of images. There's a lot of images, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like a cartoon almost throughout the whole book. But
Mhm.
engaging students in books that they love and books about topics that are interesting to them can spark a love for reading. So
Yeah.
that's really, if you can integrate reading into your daily life and make it fun by incorporating books that they love, that's
Yes.
really key and really helps a
Yeah.
lot.
So parents really have to find out what their kids are interested in and then
Right,
use reading. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
right.
And
And
look
I
how you
think
turned out, right?
right,
Wow.
right. It's funny. I was not a huge fan of reading, but now I started
Yeah,
a literacy camp
yeah,
and
I
tutoring
know.
others.
I know.
It's
I
great.
know.
It's great. It's crazy. But yeah, I would just summarize by saying if you can be an example and show that desire for reading in general, that's going to spark kids. And then if you can
Mhm.
also start early and foster a love for reading at an
Yes.
early age, that's key. And build it into your regular life. If you're walking down the street and your kids can read a sign out, or they can read the back of the milk carton, or they can read
Yes.
regularly as a kid and just work on
Yeah.
that reading skill. And then also if you can like just make reading more fun by
Mhm.
by incorporating books that they love. That's really key. Those are
Yes. Mine actually started with reading signs on the road. So we
oh
played
nice.
I Spy, right? You really have to make it fun for the kids so they would participate,
Mhm.
right? So
And that's the
okay,
great thing is they're learning. They're learning all the
yeah,
time while you're doing that, which
I
is really
know.
great.
I know. Yeah. So Ian shared with me like a few weeks ago, right? Ian shared with me a booklet and I tried it out with the kids. So it's fun because we had fun because the story is really funny, especially for the kids. I was telling Ian that they were laughing the whole time. And
That's
then
great.
yeah, they had a good laugh while we were doing it, and it's a good bonding moment with them because yeah, I'm guilty of this. Like during the quarantine, I would just give them their iPads because I was saying this wasn't planned, so I was expecting I'll have my me time while the kids are in school, but then everything was put on hold, right? So I turned to gadgets to keep them
Yeah.
preoccupied. But then when Ian sent this, so I thought the kids wouldn't participate. They wouldn't like it because they were into the games that they were playing. But they actually liked it. So
That's great.
can you talk more about Tiny Theater and how your booklet can make reading more fun for kids?
Right. So my booklet and my business Tiny Theater creates short printable read aloud scripts that parents can do with kids at home. So primarily for grades 1 to 2 or kids in kindergarten with strong reading skills. So basically I would say ages 6 to 8 around there was is the reading level for it. But if you have kids older than 8, it's definitely a silly and fun activity
Yeah, I
that
have
these
a 9 year old.
great. And basically, these skits are really funny, really silly. They're 1 to 2 pages, and they all have like silly scenarios, like a dinosaur walking into the dentist's
Yes.
office, or two aliens walking into a restaurant, or I have the last one is the royal family of Fancyville visits McDonald's. So it's just a really silly scenarios, which to
Yeah.
engage students so they can have fun while reading. And that actually kind of sparked out of my literacy program. It really birthed from the volunteer program that I did in
Mhm.
DC last year. Because during the literacy camp, I would write these 1 to 2 page scripts just so kids could practice theater. And while they were practicing theater, they were reading the words and building reading skills. And I was like, wow, this could be really
Yes.
useful for reading. So then
Yeah.
that kind of birthed Tiny Theater.
Yeah, what I liked about it is that because they had to act it out, they were asking about the vocabs. So they're asking for the meaning of the word. So they're just not reading it. So they're starting to really understand because they have to act it out. So I
Right,
think that's the difference compared to just actually reading a book.
right,
So
right.
yeah, they're very active. They're very proactive in learning what those words actually mean. Otherwise, they won't be able to act it out.
Right, and
Right.
that was key too, because with the theater scripts, you are simultaneously acting out the words that are on the page. So you're
Yes.
building the comprehension skills. So each skit actually has bolded words in the script for the bolded vocabulary words to
Yeah.
build your kids' vocabulary. So while they're playing these and acting these skits out with you and other kids too, they're also building their vocabulary, and they have to
Mm.
act out the play, act out the scenes. So that shows that they understand what's going on, and it helps them understand what they're reading more. Because sometimes what I've noticed is kids will read something and they can read something, but then you ask them what they just read and
They
they
don't
can't.
know. I know. Yeah, that happened too.
It happens to me sometimes too, honestly.
I know. So yeah, yeah, it happens to me too, even until now.
Right. But acting and reading is really crucial and really key. And I didn't even realize that before this volunteer program last year. And then after I did the volunteer program, I said this is something that could really help kids and really help parents as a fun activity just to do,
Yeah.
especially
Yes,
during
yes.
the season. So,
Yeah, because you don't have anything else to do. So
right.
might as well act those things out.
Right.
It's fun. Yeah, I really have to tell you guys it's fun. We had fun doing it with costumes and all. So my kids are 7 and 9. So my eldest who's 9, she's a little bit too old for that. Well, she's not, but she had fun. She joined it anyway. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I really noticed that the retention is high there. So the vocab retention is high. So it's good.
That, that
We
is
have
that
a
is
few
great.
we have a question. I'm not sure if we can
Mhm.
answer this. So she asked, what should kids learn first, reading or writing? What do you
That
think?
is a that is a good question. That is a good question. Hmm.
Mhm.
I would say from my expertise and from my learning, I'm not 100% sure on writing, but I would say that reading to your kids as early as they can will start building that foundation and building the vocabulary that they'll hear so they can write later on. I mean, even kids early as 6 months to 12 months won't be able to write, and even maybe later on won't be able to write very well and maybe speak the vocabulary. But as a baby's retention of vocabulary is happens a lot earlier in their development than
Mm,
writing. So I would recommend that reading as early as you can. And if you build that foundation of reading, then writing is going to become much easier because they're already going to know a lot more vocabulary.
yeah, so they have to practice the sounds first, the letter sounds, and then the words, the CVC. I remember when my kids were in preschool, it started with the sounds of the letters and then CVC words. And then that's when they started writing because when they know, I think it goes hand in hand. When they know how it sounds, they can write
Mm-hmm.
it down. So it's easier for them to write it down. So I hope that answered Shishi's question. Let me
Yeah.
just quickly check if we have others here. Yeah, the others who are watching, they're not sending their questions. Is there
But even
anything
along
else?
those lines,
Yeah,
even if you're learning a language like learning Spanish
yeah.
or learning French, it comes a lot quicker to hear it and I can hear I'm
Yes.
majoring in Spanish. I can hear Spanish and understand someone speaking, but then when I start to speak, sometimes it sounds
Oh my God,
horrible.
it's the same with me because I majored in Spanish too. So
That's great.
I studied I studied Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, and yeah, and
Wow.
English, of course. Yeah, in
Wow.
college. So I took because I was in international relations. So we had
Mhm.
to learn those languages. And I have to say that I learned them best when our professors would make us watch movies.
Well,
Right?
that's great.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think tiny theater will really help because that's how I learned. Like when you listen to them, to the people talking in the movie, that's when you understand because you can see them, you can see what they're doing, you can see what
Right.
they mean, right? So yeah,
Right. And with acting out, you can watch other kids act it out. And then one thing
yeah,
too is great is while you're doing the scripts, if you can like switch roles and then rerun the script and do it over again,
yeah.
then every kid like, gets to like read all the lines and they get to learn more vocabulary and
Oh
have more
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
So
yeah. I didn't we
so it's
didn't do that. We'll try that next time. Yeah, that makes sense. So that everyone gets to, read about the word that they're assigned to. Yeah.
right, right. So I really hope it was I mean it sounds like it was a very fun activity and
It
that's why I hope that it's
was.
pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. It was. So I highly recommend this to the parents who are watching. It's available in the Philippines, right? Because it's
Yes.
downloadable anyway. Yeah.
Yes. It's
So
principal.
if
Hmm.
you let me just type the address here, the URL. So if you want to get a copy, It's here. It's tinytheatermd.com.
Yes,
So you can
and
order
actually,
directly from the website, right? And then it's
right,
downloadable.
right, and there's also a discount code too, for your
Oh, wow.
viewers. If you type in read 20, all caps,
Read
READ,
20. Okay.
hmm it saves 20%. So
Wow, that's a lot. That's a
yeah,
lot.
it does. It is.
Okay,
And
let me type it here.
the great thing too is that all like 15% of all the sales, whatever the final cost comes, goes to this organization called Literacy Lab in DC. I'm donating
Okay.
to the Literacy Lab DC, and they work with low income students from low income families and help
Mm.
them achieve their literacy goals for the quarter, for the semester, and
Wow.
also just grow literacy skills to breed and
Mhm.
foster academic success in the future. So they're
Yeah.
a great organization.
I hope
So
someone from the Department of Education is watching. I think this will really help because that's one of the problems of public schools here. So the literacy rate is very low compared to the ones in
right.
private schools, right? So I think this will really help them.
I
Not
hope
only,
so.
yeah, they can learn to read, and then their comprehension skills, they can help the kids with that too,
Right.
right?
And it's fun too. Kids love to have fun. So blending all those
Yes.
together, 100%. Yeah,
And
I'm really excited.
it boosts confidence too because my son, he's not the type who would go on stage. He gets really shy sometimes. So
Hmm.
since we've been reading those scripts, he's become more confident. So that's great. It's nice. Yeah, because he was
That's
having
awesome.
fun and it yeah. And we had an audience here. We had an audience, their little brother and little sister. So yeah, it was fun. It was a fun experience.
It's great. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Ian, for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you for having
Yeah.
me. This was great. Your family is adorable. From what I've seen on Facebook, your kids are adorable. So thank you, and your
Yeah.
blog is great too. So
Thank you
thank you for
so much.
having me. It's a
So
great conversation.
again, if you guys want to order, so when they order the scripts, how many do they get
Um,
when they download it?
they get one download link. So
Everything's
as soon
there.
as you buy it, everything's there. You'll get an email
Oh,
with a
okay.
link to it, and then all 13 of the scripts will come in one download link, and then it's right on your computer that you can print out.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. Actually, that's a lot. So if you want to
Hmm.
get your own copy, there are 13 scripts, right? So it's
13, yes.
tinytheatermd.com. The link is in the comments. And if you want to save 20%, not 20
Yeah.
pesos, 20%,
Mhm.
just type in read 20 as your coupon code. So you save 20% from your purchase, which is a lot actually.
Yeah.
That's a good deal. So go get it.
Yeah.
Go get it. Well, thank you so much, Ian.
Yes, of course.
For
Thank you for having me again.
everyone, thank you for watching. So next week we're gonna have with us Anna Bohane. She's from the UK. So if you were following me
But
on Instagram, she did a virtual shoot with me. So that's so new. I had no idea that's possible. So she had a virtual shoot with me, and she's gonna talk about branding and how virtual shoots go. So if you want to learn more about that, because a lot of you are asking questions about that shoot, join us next Saturday at 9 p.m. So I'm gonna wake Anna early. She's in the UK. So same as me for joining this early. All right, thank
it's
you
great.
guys. Bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Ian.
Of course.